Welcome, everyone. Raymani, I can see you. I don't have to see you, but if you want, if you feel comfortable on camera, I always think it's a more interactive experience. So feel free to do that. But if not, it's cool too. My name is Joe Kaiser. I am here to teach. We're talking financial literacy or financial empowerment. Money, how to be good with money, specifically personal finance. I'm going to say Imani, Destiny, Justice. It's nice to meet you. Last week, we did dive into the curriculum. It's going to be 11 weeks long, and it's me and another banker named Mike who are going to teach it. We're going to go every other week. We both were here last week. Yeah, we both work at banks, and that's what we do as careers. And a big part of our jobs at the bank is to do this, to teach financial literacy. Being financially literate is just like being, literate with the English language so that you can read a book. Being financially literate and being, having personal financial savvy allows you to not only take advantage of the financial system, but avoid being taken advantage of, which is important. Okay, I'll say, do we have any questions from last week? Mostly Arshan and Ramani, you both were here last week. Do you have any questions, or do you remember what we talked about last week?
No, I don't got any questions, but we had talked about it was basically like the like start of finance. What was that slideshow?
Yeah. So the whole curriculum is about personal finance. Thank you for that. That's 100% correct, of course. The whole 11 weeks is about personal finance, managing your personal finances. I always like to say you are your first business. So if you can run your own personal finances, you can run a business. And Raymani was right. We did like a slideshow. That's how the program is set up, but it is more fun if you have questions and we can go off script. I love going off script. So if you have questions, please just either type it in chat, I will see it, or just unmute and ask. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And here you will see this is a summary of what we talked about last week, what we spent most of the time on last week. The whole curriculum, again, is called Personal Finance. It's under, this curriculum is made by a nonprofit organization called JA. JA stands for Junior Achievement. JA comes up with this curriculum, and every week is designed to build on the last week. Now, if you're new here, that's fine. We are going to review for 5 minutes, and then we'll dive into the new stuff. This week's course is on budgeting. So we'll talk about that in a moment, but first, review. So week 1 of our personal finance series, we focused on earning, employment, and income. And the big ideas, or like the main bullet points of last week, were personal finance is more than about just making money. It's also about planning what you're going to do with that money, both short-term and long-term. So personal finance is not only about making the money, your income, it's about planning what you're going to do with it, both today, tomorrow, next week, next month, and then the next 5 years. While income is the basis for your personal finance, meaning that's like the foundation, you should also consider your personal strengths, values, and priorities when choosing a career path. So me, Raymani, and Arshan, we went through this and we talked about different ways to make a living and different priorities and values. So for example, if your priority is to have a large salary, which is probably the priority for some of us, you can be a physical therapist or a personal financial advisor. You can certainly be, there's a lot more options to have a large salary. These are just examples. But if you want a flexible schedule, for example, you could be a personal trainer or a barista, not just 9 to 5, for example. So the point of this is they're trying to show us that when you pick your job and you pick your career, it works best if you can align those with your values. So in other words, if it's important to you to use your creativity, you might want to be a hairdresser or a video game designer, for example. If you want to be a leader, you might want to be a manager or a supervisor. But if you don't want to be a leader, that's okay too. So some of the key terms from last week, we talked about personal finance. Again, that's the whole point of this 11-week series. And that's defined as the practice of determining and managing a person's financial needs and goals for the future. So we are the people, we are the persons, and personal finance is about understanding what our needs are for both now and in the future. Income is a key term from last week. Income is money earned or received, including wages or gifts. Income is any money you've got coming in. If that's from a job, that's income. If it's from SSI or Social Security, that's income. If it's a birthday check from a family member, that's income. Any money coming into your hand is income, and it should be accounted for. When we make a budget, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, that's how you account for it. Priorities. So again, we talked about priorities and values. Priorities are the choices that are more important when compared to others. So for example, if I may prefer, or I have to pay my rent, for example, before I go out to eat, that's a priority. A roof over my head, a roof over our heads is probably in our top 1 or 2 priorities, right? Food, top 1 or 2 priorities. And then values, strong beliefs and ideals that influences one's choice. So we spent a lot of time last week really talking about what I call financial psychology, how you think about money. And how you think about money is going to be an important part of tonight, because we're going to talk about budgeting. So here's tonight's session. First of all, any questions? Okay. Okay, here's what we're going to do tonight. The objectives for this evening. After completing this session, we will be able to recognize the importance of making and keeping a budget or spending plan, identify categories of expenses in a budget, explain how to use a budget to clarify shared financial decisions with another person. That's kind of a weird one. I was like, that's an interesting thing to teach during a budgeting class. I really like that. What we're getting at here is that oftentimes your financial life is not your own financial life. Oftentimes your financial life is tied in with another person, whether that be a partner in your life or a family member, like a mom, a dad, brother, a sister, et cetera, et cetera. Oftentimes your budget is not simply your own. So we're going to talk about that and the financial psychology behind that. And then we're going to prioritize, there's that word, prioritize expense categories in a budget. Arshan, you said you had a budget, I believe, right? Yes. Did you say you wrote it down? Do you keep your budget, or is your budget in your head?
It's in my head.
Okay, all right. Does anyone else want to say whether or not they have a budget and if it's written down, or the system that you use?
I have a budget planner. A budget plan. Oh my gosh, I'm like all over the place. I do not know.
That's fine.
I'm like just like a minute ago, like before this class started, I'm over here trying to figure out, because I get paid soon. I'm like, okay, this is what I need to pay, and this is what I want to get. And I'm like, where I really want to get some stuff. I'm like, at the same time, I gotta pay some bills, and I'm like, how can this all add up? I also want to go to a pumpkin patch. How can that add up? Like, I'm just like all over the place. So like, I'm just trying to organize it because it's very stressful.
Yeah, it is stressful. It's stressful not to have a handle on the situation, like to be guessing if you have enough rather than like to be certain.
Yeah, and with the job I have, hours it just depends on like how busy it is. So I'm not gonna always get that much hours, which means I'm not gonna always get like the amount of money I need. And so it's like I'm trying to be like extra prepared for like the other paychecks, like with bills and stuff, and
Yeah,
it's just like all over the place.
yeah. Well, and we need to be honest, you, you know, I'm not accusing anyone of being young, but you're young. And when you're young, you don't have as much cushion. Like there's not as much room for error, right? And so especially when if your income fluctuates from week to week or 2 weeks to 2 weeks or month to month, that makes it really, really hard. Now we can still do a budget and we'll work on that. But yeah, that makes it really hard. If you go back to last week and thinking about priorities, like I know like you may not be in a position right now to just decide that you want a job that pays you the same amount every week, like we all do, right? But as you think about your long-term career or what fields you might get into, think about, is having a steady paycheck from week to week or month to month important to me? Or is it okay if my paychecks fluctuate wildly? So an example, like if you're a salesperson, salespeople work on commission and commit. So like if you're into real estate, for example, you work on commission, meaning you get paid when you sell a house. So you could go a couple of weeks without any income and then get thousands of dollars on one random day. Now, the trade-off for that is you have a pretty flexible schedule. You don't really work 9 to 5. So, Raymani, I'm trying to empathize with you that, yeah, it's really hard when your income fluctuates. That is a choice that you can make eventually. I'm not saying when you're young, you can necessarily make that choice, but yeah. Were you writing that down, Raymani? Like how were you trying to figure that out? Were you using your phone? Were you using a paper?
With like the budgeting,
Yeah.
my planner, I got a budget planner, so I was basically like, and I also keep notes of what I need. I always like put down what I need first, like for like example, this paycheck I need basically personal belongings and stuff like hygiene stuff, bills to pay, like afterpay stuff and little pay things like Hulu and HBO and stuff like that, and credit bill and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like do the needs, and then I go on to like calculating. Okay, this is because I can already see how much my paycheck is before my paycheck comes. So I can already see that. So I'm like, okay, this is how much I have
Yeah.
calculated, and it's subtract of like how much I will have if I like pay all these bills, and so I can get what I want afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Save up, and so yeah.
Do you like when you're writing that down, do you keep track of that from month to month, or do you have to like sit there and remember what your bills are every time?
I keep track month to month.
Okay,
So,
good. But budget planner. Tell us again what a budget planner is.
so I just actually got one not too long ago. It's to like basically jot down all your like expenses, and then what you do is like you jot down your expenses, and then you put the budget of like the estimate budget of what it may be. For example, I put like bills should be no more than like 100, But if I spend more than that, I put the actual, and then I put the difference as like a plus sign of it was too much, or a negative as it was like less of like having to pay, if that makes sense. So that's what this
Yeah.
is. And then it's like um shows upcoming purchases, upcoming bills, and then it just like also gives you a place where you put all your goals, and it gives you like a calendar. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna actually show you.
Love it. Destiny asks, where'd you get it from?
Amazon. It was only $6.99. Can y'all see me? Can you see me?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for example, this is like the calendar part, and it got like little stickers in the back. You could like, but as you can see, it's like payday. You know, I got all my payday stuff, bills, and then like the bills due, and then I jot down the bills I have to pay right here, and then I jot down right here how much I get paid for each month, and the total of all like for that whole month. So yeah,
Love
but
it.
it's a little planner with
Yeah, it's
the
like a notebook. Yeah, like a financial diary.
yeah. I try to get like the cheap ones because the ones that comes with like the planner and like the whole year calendar and stuff, it costs more. So this is like $6.99
$6.99.
on Amazon.
There you go. I think that's wonderful. Thank you, Raymani. Thank you so much for sharing. I love it. The cool thing about budgeting is you can do it any way you want. Like there's some general themes that we're going to cover in just a little bit. But in terms of actually doing it and writing it down, you can do it any way you want. You can have a budget planner like Raymani does. You can do it on a spreadsheet. If you're more of like a laptop computer or desktop computer person, you can do it on your phone, if like just in notes, if you're into that, or you can download a full-fledged app. You can use Post-it notes. You can use, you know, a notepad, anything. It doesn't matter. The whole point, though, of a budget is it's a plan to understand how much money you have coming in, which is called your income, and how much money you have going out. That's called your expenses. Your income has to be greater than your expenses. If that's a negative number, you will eventually go bankrupt. Like it's just not sustainable. So what we're going to talk about tonight is how to think about that and how to plan for that. So Raymani has all of her monthly obligations written down in the budget planner. Well, how do you think about your monthly obligations? Most people do their budgets monthly. I would encourage you to try to do a monthly budget. Justice, I have a monthly planner that I use. Best choice I ever made. Yeah. Yeah, it feels good when your money's all accounted for. So there you go. Destiny, if you want to get one of those, yeah, I think that would be awesome if you want to try it. Or if you want to try an app, that would be great too. Arshawn, you too. I'm not saying I would never criticize you, sir, but I would say it's going to be super helpful if you do start writing things down or typing things down, however you keep track of things. This is a video. Did you hear any of that? Yeah. So we found out last week that we can't play videos, which is fine. It's a cheesy 1-minute video. Budget basics. Okay. So the curriculum here is going to reiterate some of the things. Imani, I saw you maybe come off mute. Oh, no, I didn't. I was like, somebody might want to talk. Okay. Let's complete the sentences. Income is money.
Coming to you.
Earned or received.
Yes. Income is money earned or received, including wages or gifts. An expense is money.
And to buy or do something.
Yep. Spent to buy or do something. And then last one is obviously a budget is a spending plan for managing money during a given period of time. So some people, keep an annual budget or a weekly budget. The most common type of budget is a monthly budget. But to Raymani's point, if your income varies week to week, that can be really hard to do a monthly. So having a weekly budget is fine too. Whatever works for you. Okay, here's some definitions. And this is the point of this is trying to think of the expenses that you have. So think of the expenses that you have that might be fixed expenses. These are expenses that do not change from month to month, such as rent. So your rent is the same every month. If anyone has a car loan, where you're paying back a bank or a credit union for your car, that's a fixed expense. That's the same every month. Phone bill. Most of the time now, in the year 2022, a phone bill is a fixed expense. It's pretty much the same. In the old days, when I was a kid, your phone bill was a variable expense because it mattered if you were calling long distance. A variable expense is or are expenses that vary from month to month, such as entertainment, electricity, or groceries. These are harder to budget for, but they're not impossible because obviously we all have them, right? So our entertainment, so that entertainment is how you budget for things like shopping. Movies, going out to the movies is obvious entertainment, but to plan for shopping is important too. So I budget personally for shopping in my entertainment budget. Electricity is a variable expense, right? Because it changes month to month, depending on how much you use. Your groceries change month to month, depending on how much you eat. Periodic expenses. These are sometimes the hardest things to budget for. Expenses that occur on an irregular basis rather than monthly. So these are things sometimes that you can't plan for. Car repairs, right? So like you get a flat tire, you need your alternator or a battery changed. You can't plan for that, but you still have to budget for that. That's the important part. Doctor bills, medical bills, you can't necessarily plan for that, but you should budget for that. That's the goal. Okay, income. Are there other things you might include for income? Okay, well, I mean, think of your own personal situation. You don't have to say out loud, but from now on, though, it will be helpful if you have a pen and paper handy, because we're going to try to do a budget. We're going to try to each make a budget here, like a 5-minute budget. But so think of your income, money coming in. Is there anything other than, money that you work a job for? Think of your fixed expenses. Here's some examples of fixed expenses. Your car insurance, that's a fixed expense. Student loans, if you have any of those. Income tax, I'll be honest, that's silly that that's on there because that comes out. We don't ever see that anyway, right? Homeowners insurance, renters insurance, your rent, your mortgage, if you own a house. All these other things, look down here. Again, some of these things you wouldn't budget for, like state and local taxes. I think that's kind of silly because you can't pretend. Okay, and then there's variable expenses. So think about some of your variable expenses. Gas. If you have a car and you pay for gas, that's a variable expense because you don't drive the same place every week or every month. Dining out. Dining out for someone my age, maybe someone of all age, but that's probably one that really gets me. in my family. A lot of money wasted there. Clothing's hard, right? Because that's a variable expense. Okay. Now, let's talk a minute about this is more financial psychology. This is important, especially if you've got a partner or a roommate. Basically, if you have any situation in your life where you are paying for something along with someone else, this part's for you. If this doesn't apply to you, still pay attention because it may apply to you in the future. If you had a roommate, which expenses on the budget might you share? Oh, I guess that was an open-ended question. Does anyone have any ideas or examples if you want to share from your real life?
Rent for people that share a home, even utilities sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, rent, utilities, snacks. Yeah. Well, listen, so when I was younger, I had a lot of roommates, like up to 5 roommates at a time in a like a townhouse. And yeah, it gets insane with if you're all pitching in for the electricity bill, for example. That was common. That's something we did. If you're all pitching in for the internet bill, that was pretty common. Well, if there's 5 roommates and only one person, doesn't make the payment, that really leaves everyone, out in the cold there. So we're talking about this because it can get complicated and messy. Healthy conflict. Healthy conflict resolution requires that you address issues that stand in the way between you and another person. Healthy communication skills are the key to resolving conflict respectfully. Healthy conflict resolution involves setting boundaries, finding the real issue, agreeing to disagree, compromising when possible, and considering whether the issue is really important. So, healthy conflict. There will be conflict between you and someone else paying for something eventually in your life. It's best if it can be healthy conflict. What else I wanted to talk about? Equality is important in a healthy relationship. One person shouldn't feel like he or she is expected to pay for everything. And both people should feel like they have equal say in shared decisions. So here we're talking probably more of a partner situation rather than a roommate situation. But especially, in a partner situation, things can get complicated. Maintaining independence is also part of a healthy financial relationship. Sharing expenses with someone doesn't mean you need to share all of your financial information with the other person or let him or her control your spending. So think about that. I mean, this can get kind of heavy, right? Like there can be some real, I don't know, domestic issues, right? If there's a partner that's really controlling over another partner, not all types of abuse is physical, right? Like you can financially abuse someone too. Okay, here's an example. My roommate and I share household expenses, including groceries. The problem is my roommate always has friends over who eat all our food. It's very common. I feel like I'm being taken advantage of because I'm paying to feed my roommate's friends. What should I do? What do you think?
Nip it in the bud.
Nip it in the bud, how?
I'm not sure. Speak up for yourself first, but like It says my roommate and I share household expenses. Yeah, just
Speak up for
you gotta
yourself.
make it known. Like, I don't pay for your friends. They come over, they need to bring stuff for them to snack on, whatever the case may be. But yeah, you gotta speak up for yourself in your pockets.
Nice. Agree. Arshawn, what do you think?
Kind of said the same thing as her, really. Because for personal experiences, one of my roommates was getting their food eaten, and all they had to do was say something, and then it stopped. So
Nice. That was easy.
yeah, it's
So you-
literally just saying something.
So you said you have roommates.
Yeah,
How do you handle the groceries?
I don't buy groceries, so
Who buys groceries?
they do. I do DoorDash. I ain't gonna lie, like I just buy like Grubhub every day. I'm the wrong person to like ask about groceries. Can't count. Sorry.
Sir, how much do you think you spend a month on Grubhub and DoorDash?
It's up there.
It's okay. Well,
It's up
listen.
there.
Okay, well, I mean, this is a great. You're taking the you're taking the right class. You should seriously do a budget. If you don't already have a budget, or if it's not written down,
I did a budget. But it was early this year. Like, and financial stuff has changed, so I need to redo it. But I've been good though. Like, I'm gonna still pay all my bills and stuff on time. But I know I could be saving a lot more money if I did like focus back on the paper budget. But I don't know.
yeah,
I like food too much.
yeah, I get it. Yeah. Well, I mean,
DoorDash
I'm
is-
glad. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say DoorDash is super convenient. Like when I didn't have a car and stuff, that's where all my money went to. But like I had to realize you're spending twice as much money for DoorDash than you would getting up and like going to the restaurant or something. But it's like a burden. DoorDash is a burden for real. I know the feeling.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's important. No one's here to criticize or judge. We're just here to, talk about it, empower each other. Arshawn knows that that's probably a category he could tighten up. But, also, we all deserve a treat now and then, every day. It's hard. But one thing you mentioned is, listen, if you have a plan and you plan for both DoorDash and saving, then you could spend more confidently, I think, with DoorDash. And that, if you knew that, yeah, I had DoorDash 15 days out of 30 last month, but I also saved, there's also $250 in my savings account because I planned to do that. That would feel pretty good. Okay, here. Our official answer was practice healthy conflict resolution techniques and have an open and respectful conversation. In a non-judgmental way, tell your roommate how the behavior is affecting you. Then look for solutions. I mean, okay. That's ideal. Okay, budgeting. This is where we'll take a moment to try to make a budget. And I'm gonna give you, we're gonna do 5-minute budgets. The following tips, will help you budget with another person. Keep your own separate budget for unshared expenses. So certainly, Arshawn probably definitely does that. There's no group budget, but he has his own budget, not for his roommates. Make sure both people have equal input into shared financial decisions. You probably heard crazy stories of married folks where one spouse just buys a car without the other one knowing about it. That's an extreme example where both people did not have equal financial input. But even something where one partner were to buy an Xbox, That could be an issue. Maybe even get DoorDash on one night. That could be an issue. Make sure both people have equal access to any shared accounts. And again, this gets again into the darker territory of domestic abuse type relationships, where one way to oppress another person is to deny them access to their money and accounts. So don't do that to anyone, and make sure no one's doing that to you. Okay. So here's the budget. Oh, push the wrong button. This is the budget. Can y'all see this? Can you see that okay? Kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's small, but okay. Take 5 minutes. It's 7:10. Take until 7:15, and on a piece of paper, try to jot down and plan for these things: your income, and then your fixed expenses and your variable expenses. We're not going to ask anyone to share their income or their expenses in terms of dollar amounts, but we're going to talk about categories, like what did you budget for and what did you not have to budget for on this list. This list may not be all inclusive. Like there may be things that you have to pay for monthly that are not on here. Okay, so wait, let me check chat. Oh, Justice says she gets keep kicked out. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to be quiet and mute myself for 5 minutes, and I'll come back at 7:15 and really take your time here and try to account and write down a monthly budget. Okay. Okay, it's about time. Does anyone need more time? Okay, all right. So with our budgets in hand or next to us, let's go back to the main presentation. We are going to compete to see who can earn the most points. For each scenario, mark the points you earned, if any. Okay, so on that same piece of paper, write down the number of points you personally earn. You'll get it after the first one here. Budget choices, round 1. You earn points if you have budgeted for these scenarios. You need a place to live. Add 5 points if you budgeted for housing. I would hope and suspect that most of us budgeted for housing. Electricity, earn 5 points if you budgeted for energy. So electricity and gas, I think is what I would call that. I don't know if I was at your age, if I would have known this. Electricity is generally for the lights. I would have known that. Gas is generally for like hot water or the furnace, the heat, things like that. Okay, you are saving for an important high-priced item that you would like to buy. Earn 3 points if you've budgeted for savings. Oh no. Justice left the meeting. Did anyone budget for savings? I would be really impressed. Okay. Scenario 4, earn 2 points if you budgeted for phone service. Now that's a commentary, right? That we all budgeted for phone, but we didn't budget for saving. A lot of people, if we ask, you know, what's your your first expense? What's the very first thing you budget for? Most people would probably say rent or housing. Ideally, what you want to say is yourself, your savings. You want to budget for you first. Even if it's $10 a month or $5 a month, $1 a month, whatever you can do. It's important to get in that habit because we're all betting on ourselves. We are all betting that a year from now, we'll be making more money. 5 years from now, we'll be making more money than we're making now, right? I think that's pretty hopeful for all of us. So get in the habit now of saving that money, even if it's $1 a month, because in the future, it will be 100. Oh no, Arshawn, we lost more. That's okay. Raymani's still with us.
What's going on?
You're
Ramani, are you
bored.
gonna leave too?
No, I'm not gonna leave.
She's not. We're almost done. We have only 10 minutes. Okay, so let's get onto the point thing. The whole 4 points if you budgeted for utilities.
Wait, I counted. Okay, I'm confused because I counted electricity and
Yeah,
utility.
I agree. That's the same thing.
Okay.
Although, okay, so maybe give yourself 4 points and the 2 points.
It's hard to. Well, is this like just budgeting like as a plan for yourself, or just like example? Because what I'm for an example, for me, I'm budgeting for an apartment, but not all apartments will like include like all utilities. Like some will only include like gas and trash, or just gas.
Yeah.
Or
So are you budgeting for your situation right now or what you think it's going to be like?
what do you think because right now I'm not paying utilities. What I think is going to be when I actually get my own full apartment and have no roommates.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. And so, yeah, I would budget for,
Yeah.
I would. And you're like, how do you pick that number?
12,000, maybe more.
12,000
Maybe
for
more.
what?
For an apartment, but that's like also with the rent, first month rent and utilities and stuff, but also furniture. Might be more. I'm also saving up for that.
Are you budgeting for the whole year when you say
I'm
12,000?
This year and next year. Because I'm budgeting for an apartment and a car at the same time.
So what's the 12,000 figure?
That's like the goal.
That's a big goal.
That's a very big goal. It's just like just to be extra prepared, but that's
Yeah.
That's gonna take a minute. That's gonna take a couple of years.
Yeah. I listen, I think that's an incredible goal and you'll definitely get there. I would suggest though, breaking that down to more manageable chunks, you know, rather than thinking of it as 12,000, you know, really do try to operate month to month.
Okay.
I know that it's hard to do right now, but you know, eventually when we're all in stronger financial positions, month to month is generally how most people in the world manage their finances, most businesses, etc.
Okay.
Imani, welcome back. Earn 4 points if you budgeted for transportation. So transportation could be car.
The gas.
Yep. So if your transportation is car, you should have, if there's a loan on the car, you should have that. And then you should also have gas. And then you could also have, so a car loan would be an example of a fixed expense because that'd be the same. Gas would be an example of a variable expense because that changes every month. And then you have periodic expenses, which are annoying, like an oil change, which is like every 3 months, or new tires, which is like every year or two, or brakes, So that stuff you have to save more as like a car maintenance budget, and you just sock away like $10 a month into that or something. That's how you would manage that. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Food, 5 points if you budgeted for food. I bet everybody budgeted for food. But it's hard to pick. It can be hard to put a number on that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Especially if that involves going out. So your food budget you have to budget for everything that you spend.
Mhm.
So whether or not you categorize, food that you buy at the grocery store separate from food you spend on DoorDash, that actually is probably a good idea to separate it so that you can have an even better breakout. Like, this is how much I spent at Meijer or wherever you shop, and then this is how much I spent at.
Okay.
Or, yeah. What else we got here? 3 points if you budgeted for clothing. Clothing. 5 points if you budgeted for home or renter's insurance. Arshawn, are you saying yes, you did?
I got, because I have renter's insurance.
Nice. Brilliant. Brilliant. I never had that when I was a 20-something-year-old kid, and that was so dumb because it's not that expensive.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, if you are renting now or renting in the future, you have to get renter's insurance. It's like, how much is it, Arshawn?
I think mine was only like 40, 20.
A year?
Wait, I gotta check because I did it through Progressive, and I haven't got a email from them in so long. Give me like 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, the point is, it's not going to break the bank, and it's important to have insurance in case anything gets stolen, burned down, whatever. All right, and then 5 points if you budgeted for car insurance.
I did though.
Do you have a car?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Car insurance is, I mean, for me, that's like $100 a month.
I do mine every 6 months.
Oh, excuse us. Arshawn, that's a great example. So Ramani and Imani, if you didn't know, when you have a car, and I don't know, you might have a car, you have to have insurance on the car, and you can choose to pay that insurance in full, like every 6 months, or you can pay monthly. But either way, you have to budget for that.
What I be confused about with insurance is when you get a car, like say you get a car like from a private owner and not like off the lot and stuff, how can you get insurance on that and stuff? So that's what I'm confused about.
Sure. So the car dealer doesn't have anything to do with the insurance. So you always get your car insurance from an insurance agent. Arshawn mentioned Progressive. So Progressive is like an online insurance agent. And so you would go to progressive.com and put in the information about the car. Doesn't matter if you bought the car from the dealer or from a private person. Progressive will issue your insurance, and then you pay Progressive either every 6 months or every month.
Oh, so I get to like pick every 6 months or every month. Which one is better? Like, what choice is better?
It's up to you.
Well, it's totally up to you. Yeah, and this is a great. Yeah, this is where America is awesome. because we have so many choices, and where it's hard because we have so many choices. You have to shop around. You have to ask friends, ask for referrals. But it doesn't have to be a big deal too. You know, you can go to places like progressive.com or Geico will shop multiple places for you. This is, Raymani, this is part of what we're doing here, being financially literate. It's making sure that when you're shopping around, you're not getting scammed and you're not getting taken advantage of. Not saying that you would, but you could. And by being, you know, understanding and having a handle on our personal finances, which includes insurance, yeah, you'll make a good choice.
Okay.
If you're serious and you need a recommendation like right now, yeah, just send me an email or give me a call. Here's my email address, and I'll make you a referral. I think Progressive is fine. I'm sure Arshawn hasn't had any issues. But yeah, you're allowed to shop that around. And what's interesting is your driving record will affect the price, you know. So you probably know that you get points on your license. Like if you get pulled over for speeding, or if you get in an accident and it's your fault, you get points. Well, the more points you have, the more expensive your insurance will be. What's also interesting though is your credit score plays a huge part in how much you pay. So that's where what we're talking about for these 11 weeks can get you cheaper insurance. You know, so by having a high credit score, you pay less in your car insurance. All right. Hey, it's 7:30. How does anybody want to share how many points you scored in our scenario?
I'm not gonna lie.
How many?
I only missed the close and the savings, but I lost track of my account. But those are the only two I missed.
Okay. Close and the savings.
Yeah.
Raymani, how did you do?
Well, it was kind of hard for me to keep track of all that because some of them I don't know the past expenses on them, and most of them I don't like have expenses on them at all, like the car insurance and stuff. So it was hard for me to keep track.
Okay, yeah, no big deal. It was just an exercise. Some of the things we talk about.
I did take a picture though of it, so.
Cool. Well, listen, you have a budget planner. You're ahead of the game anyway. I mean, your budget planner has all the categories in it, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you don't have to get everything that we talk about, you know, during these 11 weeks. As long as you pick up a couple of nuggets here and there, I think we're doing good. But so tonight, to wrap up and recap, it was all about budgeting. You know, we talked about making sure, we talked about the fact that budgeting is all just about having a plan, understanding how much money you have coming in versus how much money you have going out. And most people make that plan in monthly increments. And then we talked about having different categories for spending, fixed expenses, variable expenses, and then those periodic expenses, which are not monthly, which are just kind of random. Any questions before we call it a night?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I really enjoyed spending the hour with you. I put my email in there if anybody has any questions about anything, but especially about making a budget. Like if you want any help with your budget, send me an email and I will be happy to do that with you.
All right, and you have a great night.
Thank you. You too. We'll see you soon.
All right, see ya.
Bye.